Go ahead and start the recording. But wanted to thank everybody for stepping on. Thank Adrienne for stepping on with us. This will be a great episode. Y'all are going to enjoy. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to dive into here. So kind of right off the bat, let's let you introduce yourself and then we'll jump in. I've got a few questions for you. Y'all, what we'll do is come about 10:30. We will switch over, open up for Q&A. If you got any direct questions, we can go through that and go from there.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Adrienne LaBauve. I'm with eXp Realty. I have LaBauve Group with myself, Ashley Gluck, and I have a administrative assistant, Emma Schlentz. And I couldn't do what I do without them, so shout out to them. I've been in the business for 12 years and have moved from brokerage to brokerage, I think as most of us do, and have now landed at eXp for the last almost 2 years in January. So, yeah.
So the first question, I walk into a room and you're introducing yourself to somebody. The first thing they ask is, where are you from and where did you go to high school?
Right.
So let's start there.
So I am not from New Orleans. Obviously, most of my business is in Orleans Parish. I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana. We moved when I was a small child, so I was 7 years old. Moved to right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. So I grew up there, went to high school there. So I can't answer that question with the answer that anyone wants. So did not go to high school in New Orleans. So after high school, I spent a semester before I went to LSU. I spent a semester off and then landed at LSU. I was there for I think I was there for 2 semesters and it was just too big. So I transferred to the University of New Orleans, and that's how I'm in New Orleans. So yeah.
I graduated from UNO.
Oh, really?
As well with my master's. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I immediately went abroad with UNO. So I transferred from LSU to UNO, and I did a summer in Costa Rica, and then I immediately went to the Czech Republic for 2 years. My junior and senior year were in Prague in the Czech Republic. So I was at Charles University. Yeah.
Interesting. No real estate experience over there?
No, much different over there. So
I don't think so.
It was a cool experience, but my undergrad's in political science, international studies. So.
Okay. So you went from political science, international studies into real estate. How did you get started in the real estate business?
So when I graduated, I wanted to be an attorney. And so I went and worked for an attorney, an environmental attorney, and I was there for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and quickly realized that was not for me. So it was an amazing experience, but just not the lifestyle that I wanted. So I started looking for other options. This was after Hurricane Katrina, so everything was kind of, I'm sure all of you remember, it's quite a mess. So after I was at that law firm for 2 years and decided that I didn't want to pursue law school, I got an offer from a friend of mine to go run his music venues. So I went and did that for 4 years.
Okay.
So I was at One Eye Jack's for 4 years and in a quarter, which is now Toulouse Theater. And I think it was year 3 or something, I went and met with a realtor to start thinking about buying a house. And we had, an hour-long conversation. And after that conversation, I was like, why am I not doing this? Because I've always been a hustler. Like, I move fast. I work hard. And I think that's what it takes to be a really successful realtor. So 6 to 8 months after that meeting, I had my real estate license.
Well, and you have that allure that like you get out what you put in, right?
Yeah.
So that sucks all of us in, I feel like, because, I know that I'm going to work through it. I know that I'm going to work hard. That's kind of our personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that going in, that's always good.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you said 12 years in the business. Let's start with like years 1 through 5. Let's start there. Kind of give us that progression. What did you do right off the bat, starting your career? And then we'll get into the latter years where you are today.
Yeah. So the realtor that I had that meeting with, I ended up working with for many years, for 7 years. So she was my mentor. I was actually her assistant for, I'd say it was about 8 to 9 months before I did my own deal, because I was super nervous. Like, I didn't want to screw anything up. I was just too nervous. So I was her assistant. I was running around doing all the things that we all know realtors do, putting up signs, showing property, but never wanted to write a contract because I was too nervous. So I spent the that first year, doing the administrative side of it, really. And then after a year, I had a few clients, and it really just like rolled from there. Those clients kept sending me other clients. I'm a hard worker. I do think I go above and beyond. Some of my friends are like, that are agents are like, why are you doing all those things? And, maybe things that feel a little bit more above and beyond. Like, last night at 9:30, I was at my client's house because they got locked out and I was the only one with a key. So like, it's those things that people trust me, and they, they stick with me. So the first 5 years was kind of a roller coaster. And I think one of the things that agents struggle with in that first 5 years is that we put a bunch of things under contract, or 3 or 4 things, and we focus on those things, but we're not doing the things that are important for when those contracts close. And then we don't have any business for 2 months. So it took me almost 7 years to realize that I had to get out of that like hamster wheel.
It's that roller coaster ride.
It is. It is. And it took me getting a coach, and we'll go into that a little bit more, but it took me getting a coach to really understand the things that I needed to be doing on a day-to-day basis, and the systems that I needed to put in place to make sure that I was doing a consistent amount of deals every month to support the lifestyle that I wanted to have. So
fair. So you started really learning the paperwork side of things, and transitioned into, okay, starting to bring in a few clients. But what you said there, you had past clients referring you more business. Now that doesn't always happen, right? I feel like there's a stat from NAR, and don't quote me on this, but like 17% of people actually use the same agent for their next purchase or the next sale, right?
Yeah.
So what were some things that you did there to retain that business and continue getting new business from your old business?
Good question. And one of the things that drives me nuts to hear is like, I'll ask someone that I meet, it's like, who's your agent? And they're like, oh, I can't remember their name. And I'm like,
you nuts, huh?
Oh my gosh, like, how can you not remember their name? Like, you have to have an impact on people to where like obviously you want them to remember your name, but to where they remember like what you did for them that made them feel like you were supporting them, So I think, again, one of the things that I do is I over explain. I take 45 minutes to an hour whenever we write a contract to go through it step by step and give it to them in layman's terms. So I'm not just like writing an offer and sending it to them to sign, because I don't think that's a responsible move on our parts as agents. Kind of side note, one of the things that I find really interesting in this industry is a lot of us come from a service industry background, or, whatever your background may be, where we're not trained, we're not financial advisors. We're not, we don't have legal backgrounds, most of us, and we are put in front of these people with the biggest investment they're ever going to make in their lives. And we really should take that very seriously. And so I'm always trying to learn and invest in my own properties, understand my own investments, running numbers, understanding vacancy rates, all of those things are so important. And I think that's how I set myself apart, is that my clients literally look at me. I am their real estate resource in every way, shape, or form. I mean, they call me, they text me for anything they need. And if they need a plumber, I'm going to put them on a text with my plumber immediately. So, I feel like I just create these relationships where they know I'm literally always there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and so this is a recurring theme now of you saying like you over explain everything. That Sarah brought up the same exact thing, saying we sit down and we go through everything, literally. So just a little note there. That's a good nugget.
Yeah.
Over explain, actually have conversations with people. Don't assume that they know what they're doing when they're buying a home or selling a home, because
exactly,
they probably don't, or it's been a couple of years since they did and things have changed.
Exactly. And with my client, with first-time home buyers, or even buyers that have bought and sold things in the past, I have a buyer session where we sit either in person or on Zoom, and we talk about the whole entire process, the cost. I break down a mortgage for them, obviously with a disclaimer that I am not a lender.
Sure.
I'm just running like standard numbers, talking about insurance, talking about flood insurance, whatever the case may be, just so they start to like feel comfortable with the process.
Well, and so when you sit down with them and go through that, are you bringing up like what the current market trends are? They're all going to come in and say, well, is it a seller's market or is it a buyer's market? But do you like, how do you stay on top of that? And how do you kind of go through that with them?
So yes, that is definitely something that we cover. So I want them to understand what I'm experiencing every day in the market. So how much inventory is out there? How long are things taking to go under contract? Are they going to have to write multiple offers? Like managing their expectations and understanding their personality style and what I'm going to have to deal with whenever we get in a situation where there's 5 other people that are interested in something. We all obviously know that's not the market we're in now. I mean, it still happens, but not as often, thank God, because that was exhausting. But yeah, the ways that I stay on top of that is I try to go to at least 3 conferences a year.
Any particulars? Want to plug any of them?
So I'm a firm believer and a supporter of Bigger Pockets. So Bigger Pockets is a podcast that so many real estate lovers follow. They have they have the Real Estate Rookie podcast. They have all of these amazing podcasts. They have tons of books that you can read. David Green has a great book for new agents. So Bigger Pockets, Tim and Julie Harris are with EXP. I listen to them daily. It's a quick, fast, like market update and just a motivator on what we should be doing as salespeople. Those are like my 2 go-tos. I have so many others.
So having that daily motivation, I feel like that's good because we can all feel like we're on our own little island. Sure, you can go into the office or you can go meet somebody at an open house, but it's not every day that we run into 10 people and talk about what the market's doing. So having like that quick podcast in the morning, like it's a 3-minute commute for me.
Yeah.
But listening to that, and there's literally a podcast, it's a 3-minute, like, hey, here's something to focus on today. And that's always good. That's good to see.
It's interesting you say, like, you hear all the time, I think as realtors, we hear like, if you have a coach or not, like your coach will always say, like, talk to 30 people. And you're like, how the hell am I supposed to talk to 30 people? Like in the day, I've got appointments, I've got, whatever the case may be, you got life. And it's interesting you say 10, like even 10's really difficult. So, it is nice to have like a motivator on how you're going to actually make these things happen. Some days they happen, some days they don't, try not to put a lot of pressure on myself whenever I don't achieve those small little challenges.
Knowing it's there and having the discipline that like, it's a task to get done every day. If you skip a day, is it the end of the world? No. But in the back of your head, oh, I still need to talk to these people. I still need to do this or do that.
Exactly.
So absolutely. Now, as far as like we've all seen the market shift and we're kind of getting out of that time frame of the shift itself. But what have you done with your business to help adapt in coming out of that, let's just say, low rate environment? And now we're seeing the insurance premiums, we're seeing rates higher than where they were the past 2 years. What are you doing to adapt in that?
I really love this question because I've heard so many agents over the last 6 months. And look, there's not an insult to agents, but like complaining about this market. And I think that we really need to change our narrative. So my attitude and my narrative to my clients is that the market we were in during COVID was not a realistic market. Like that was not going to last. And there were some cons to that market. I told so many of my clients during that time, like, if we're going to bid this $50,000 above, like, you need to make sure that you're not calling me in 5 years whenever the market, stabilizes a bit, to list your house for what we just purchased it for, because I don't have a crystal ball and I can't tell you that we're gonna see, who knows what the market will do. So, those are conversations that have to be had. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just explaining to buyers that this is the new normal. I think insurance is obviously so complicated right now, but insurance is not a fixed cost. Like, you have to remember that. Like, and I'm not saying that it's not terrible. Like, it is terrible, and I understand that it has definitely affected affordability, but it is not a fixed cost. And hopefully in October, when we have a new commissioner and we get through this hurricane season, I hope everyone's praying or putting it out in the universe or whatever you do, that we don't have a hurricane. Once we can get past all this stuff, I really think we're going to come out on the other side. We've done it. We did it after Katrina. So,
anything you're doing in that upfront consultation to kind of address that fear with the buyer, with the seller? That, hey, we know insurance is where it is. Are you getting quotes up front? Like, what are you doing in
I'm
that
getting quotes up
aspect of
front.
thing? Yeah.
And I just looked at something yesterday, and the first thing I did when I left was email my insurance agent and ask him what we were going to be paying. I mean, it's the reality of it now. And they're having to work harder. We're having to work harder, but you know, it's got to be done, and it definitely weighs on the decision, you know?
Yeah. Well, and so one other touch on that, flood insurance and getting these policies transferred. Sometimes it's a big burden on files, and sometimes it's pretty streamlined.
Yeah.
What are you having to jump in and help with that?
I do that whole process.
Really?
So we handle all flood assumption for our clients. So
Okay.
I initiate all of those emails. I make sure that whoever the agent is on the other side is actually transferring that before we close.
Take notes.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. So we kind of built it into our process, like, hey, let's just take the bull by the horns here.
Yeah.
Even if it's an X or a C flood zone, like, you're still more than likely going to want it transferred. And just let's initiate this up front. So you're doing that too. That I like that. I like that a lot.
And also on flood insurance, like everyone should be putting out a public service announcement to their clients it doesn't matter if you're thinking about selling like in 6 months or a year, like they do not need to stop paying. They have to pay their flood policy. If obviously, you know, if they let it lapse, then once you put it on the market, the buyer has to get the higher premium. So I've dealt with that so much recently where insurance costs have gone up. So they're like, I'm just going to let my flood lapse if I'm in a flood zone X. Like, I don't advise that. We've sent out MailChimp emails saying like, please don't drop your flood insurance.
Gosh, that's surprising.
Yeah.
I don't like hearing that.
Well, people are strapped in some cases,
yeah,
you know, and I get it, but
okay.
It can make it a bit harder to sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
okay, what about like any particular marketing strategies that you've shifted or that you've added in, taken out? Go through that with us real quick.
I always grin and smirk about marketing because I was actually talking to my broker, Betsy Birdsong, this morning about it. And I remember when I just was able to sell houses, and now I have to be like a celebrity. And I feel like I'm like trying to be a celebrity sometimes. And I don't even I don't like being on camera. Like, this is not the most comfortable thing for me. I'm sure so many people can relate.
Wait, is this a Barbie outfit or what?
No, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, that whole Barbie thing's been driving me nuts. No, I love pink. It's not a Barbie thing, but you know, I'm sure the Barbie movie's good, but no, it's not. But so I've struggled with marketing. My administrative assistant, who I have a full-time administrative assistant, helps me a lot with marketing. When I go to these conferences, every single time they're like, you have to be doing video. You have to be doing video. I believe that. I struggle with it. I think most of us do. We don't like the way we look on camera. We don't like the way we sound. Every day I'm preparing to try to get better at video. It's what people want to see. They want to see our faces. They want to be able to relate to us. They want to see our authentic self. So as far as marketing right now, we do a lot of Instagram. It's where I spend most of my time. We do a lot of MailChimp. I do mailers every quarter for my sphere of influence. I do events at my house. So every year, I do events at my house and I do things around Christmas. So every Christmas I rent Broad Theater out where I invite all my clients. I do a crawfish bowl for the Irish Channel Parade because I live in the Irish Channel. And we're starting this year, we're doing like a pumpkin patch in my yard for October, for the second harvest. So I like donating to second harvest. And so we're doing a thing where my clients come pick up a pumpkin, but they have to bring cans of food. So, and then I'm obviously accepting donations and things like that. But
that's awesome.
But it's just a time for me to connect with my clients. Like one of the things I dislike about this industry is that I have all these wonderful people that I meet and I go through this 30-day or 6-month process with them. And then I don't see them for like 3-6 months, or we're just texting. And so it's an opportunity for me to get back in front of them and just show them that I appreciate them. I give Christmas gifts every year. I literally take 4 days and drop them off on people's porches. It's exhausting.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it's important, and I think it's important for them to know that I truly care about them.
So past client events, I like that. I like that idea a lot. So for somebody, and I'm just thinking out loud here, for somebody who say they're not doing 50, 100 transactions a year, but they're doing 10, 15, maybe 20, to where, I don't want to go out and have a past client event and have 5 people show up.
Okay, so
would you leverage that with others, or what?
Not
what's your
necessarily.
thought?
So what about like just a smaller event where you have it at your house and you do like a cooking event, or like like making a cocktail or something? Like, it doesn't have to be 100 people. It can be 10 people that you're just spending time with. And honestly, those events can be even better because you get to have one-on-one conversations with them. Like those events that I do that are really big, like especially Irish Channel Parade, like I don't get to talk to half of the people that are coming through there, but they see me and they have a good time. But I think that's a great solution if you're not doing, 50 plus transactions. Even like having an afternoon meetup at a brewery, where like you're like giving them advice on insurance, or you're, whatever the topic is going to be.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you touched on this, so let's jump into your team real quick. So when did you make the decision to start building your team, and kind of give us the dynamics there?
So I've struggled with the team structure. I have a really great agent now, Ashley Gluck, that's with me. And like I mentioned, Emma Schlantz is my full-time administrative assistant, and she's also a realtor. So that helps. She is also in Portland, Oregon. So she is not boots on the ground. I was telling Cameron earlier that I kind of prefer that because she's always behind a computer, and she does most of my paperwork, which allows me to be, in the car, moving around, talking to people, having coffee, etc. So I finally have a teeny tiny little team. I'd like to grow it, but I don't want anything really big. I think 4 to 5 people is my goal. The EXP has a really wonderful structure where I do sponsor agents. So I mentor them. They are not on my team, but one of the things I've really become passionate about is like helping people become successful agents. I feel like that is something that we are lacking in this industry. And that is like sharing these tips about what you should be doing, which is why I love, that we're sitting here talking about this today, because it's really hard to know once you hang your license somewhere, you're literally like, okay, well, I'm going to go into the office. Well, what are you going to do at the office? So I really think, a piece of advice is surround yourself with someone that you want to be like, Yeah. So as far as my team, I'd love for it to stay very small. I have to have a team. One of the things that I learned from my coach is if I don't leverage, I will not grow. I cannot do everything. That is a very hard thing, I think, for a lot of agents, because we can have a tendency to be control freaks, and we want to do everything ourselves, because we sometimes think that people can't do it as well as we can. They can, as long as we train them. So
speaking to the choir.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, I think we all struggle with that. So
yeah,
the goal is a small team.
When did you make the decision to, like, for your first hire? What was the breaking point or the aha moment there?
Really, when Sean, my coach, was like, you can't grow any more than what you can't do any more than you're doing. And that was, I do 50 to 60 transactions a year. I really want to be at 100. That's tough in this market because we are a small market.
Sure.
So I just wasn't able to do any more than I was doing. So that was the breaking point of, do I want to just stay where I am, or do I want to grow? And I'm a hustler. Like, I want to grow,
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So, all right, I got 2 more for you. 2 more questions. Getting into our fall season, getting into the end of the year, summer's almost over. It's a blessing and a curse in our markets. But any expectations or any forecasts from your side of things as far as, let's say, like home value, home appreciation, or just the markets in general?
Yeah, so I'm excited about the end of the year. I know that, for many of us, January and February were tough. It was slow. Obviously interest rates shot up. Everybody was like, what is going on? Nobody wanted to do anything. So I have finally, after those 2 months, I finally gained that momentum that I'm used to, and I've kept that momentum. Again, I think it's about the narrative. I think it's managing these difficult things and just explaining them to your clients, and allowing them to understand again that insurance isn't forever. I've also talking to Cameron about this. I have lender relationships, but my goal is to put a client with the best option. And so I'm not with one lender. I jump around, and I know that can be frustrating for some lenders, but it's about what's best for my client. I'm going through, things right now where I'm trying to find like fixed buy downs, because I have a lot of clients that at 7%, and with the insurance the way it is, they can't afford it. So I'm looking for fixed buy downs that'll put me in the 5.75s, et cetera. I mean, that costs the seller money. So you have to manage that by explaining it to them well. But this is the new normal, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
So this is the third episode in a row. Like, the market we are in is our market, like it or not.
And our parents bought at 10% plus, and they're still alive.
Absolutely.
And they're prospering, and their homes are worth more. And
a lot of people like to focus on the negatives.
Absolutely.
But let's flip the script real quick. Let's focus on the positives. A homeowner versus a renter, it's 40 times, I think, is the number, 40 times % net worth for a homeowner than a renter. That's appreciation values going up, home values going up. Renting, what do we say? It's 100%. It's a 100% interest rate.
yes.
So going in, home ownership is 100% a great tool, and I think we kind of lost focus on that with all the negative media out there.
It's true. I mean, you are creating wealth. One of the books I always tell agents to read is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure you've all heard that a million times, but it allows you to understand that, like, really your primary residence is not, it's not an asset. And so, knowing all of these things about investments just really helps you communicate to your client, like, what we're doing, what are our goals. I do a lot of multifamily. So yeah.
That book, I sent that book out to so many different people, like in my personal family sphere of influence. That's a good one. If you haven't read it, please read it.
You should read it.
It's a good one. Or if you want a copy, I have 1 million copies. I can send you one. So last thing, your biggest piece of advice, let's focus on for the rest of the year. We're almost into August. So for the next 5-6 months, what biggest piece of advice to just succeed in this market?
I always go back to the basics. Like, the basics are like connecting with your sphere of influence. Like, I feel like so many agents get into this, and they start paying for leads, and like, those leads are so hard to convert. Those are people that do not know you. They do not trust you. I mean, they may eventually trust you, but it's going to take a minute to gain their trust. Like, go back to the basics, talk to your people, like, call your friends, call your family, tell them what you're doing. People want to help you. I say that over and over again. We have a Tuesday meeting every week, and I swear to God, I think I say it every week, and I know it gets old, but like, it's the truth. Your sphere is who's going to feed you. So send out texts. Like, I drive by clients' houses, and there maybe something's hit the market on their block or nearby, and maybe it's like overpriced or underpriced or whatever the case may be. Like, I'll shoot them a little, like, a text message. Hey, did you see this house? It's priced at this. Isn't that crazy? Like, just like a little, whatever the text is going to be, but it's just a time to like touch them, and call them and connect with them. So
literally staying top of mind.
Yeah.
In the literal
so sense. They know your name.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. No, keep that business, keep it coming in, keep those referrals coming. So, all right, what I'm going to do, let's turn this over, really just open it up to, like, if you have any questions, let's do a little Q&A session. And any questions, feel free to chime in. You take yourself off mute, and let's see what we got.
For sellers gifts, what do you do?
Good question. So I have for years just given like bottles of champagne. All right. I don't know if you know this, but you cannot write off. I think you can only write off $25 if it's not branded. All right. So I'm buying my people, you know, $60, $75 bottles of champagne. So I need to press send on an invoice. I have switched to branded gifts. So I do a cutting board from NOLA Boards, and look, it's not cheap, but I can write off more of it if it's branded. So I do a cutting board from NOLA Boards, and then I always try, this is another little tip, look into your client base and ask, like, is there a caterer? Is there a screen printer? Is there a photographer, whatever, and see what they can do for you. Like I have a client, Celeste Fair, give a lawn service coupon or something, or pay for their first lawn care service with one of your other clients that may be in that business. But I have a client who's a caterer, and she does these little like salts and olive oils, and it all is branded. And that way I'm giving her business. And I mean, I want to give her business because she's my friend, but I'm also like communicating with my sphere, you know?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I like that. We do cutting boards too.
Yeah.
Branded cutting boards.
Yeah.
And dog tags, pet tags.
Oh, really? That's cute.
Mhm.
That's really cute.
Any other
No
questions?
other questions?
Are you getting off easy today?
I don't have a question, but I did, Cameron, I did want to tell you that dog tag went a big way with her, like huge, and everybody was fussing, like, mine didn't do that, mine didn't do that.
Yeah,
But
there we go.
But I loved the things that you shared, because we've been thinking about ways that we can connect. You know, you close and you want to make it meaningful, you know, but I don't want to be bothersome. But I love what you said about other houses that have sold on the block. That's a great way, because everybody likes to know what's going on with real estate in my neighborhood. So I think you've shared some really good ideas, and I'm really glad I popped in.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's Sarah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Sarah.
Awesome. So what we do, it's Operation Fido is what we call it in our office. But we send out an email during the transaction and, hey, input your dog, cat's name, or do you have a pet turtle? I guess you could get a tag for a turtle. I don't know. So they input the name, and like a week or two after closing, the tags get sent out.
That's so cute.
And of course, it's marketed with like the mortgage firm. I don't know if my contact information is actually on there.
That's adorable. I'm stealing that.
But yeah, it's
another tip is steal things.
Yeah.
So if you like an idea, like I follow so many agents online from other states, and you know, EXP has a huge you know, agent count across the nation, and I follow people and admire them and like have crushes on them, you know, and I steal things from them, you know, and I'm sure people do the same thing with me, and it's okay. That's our business.
Like that's part of what we're doing here
Yeah,
today. So
exactly.
absolutely.
Just sharing what we're doing.
Yeah.
I joke that it's stealing. I mean, you know.
I don't think they would mind.
No, nobody does.
So, all right. Well, anything else before we hop off?
Quiet
I think
crew
that's
this morning.
it. Yeah. Gosh, you'd think it's 8 a.m. Well, thanks again. Thanks y'all for
Thank you
stepping
guys
on.
for joining us.
And y'all feel free to reach out if you need anything.
Same with me, y'all. If y'all have any questions, if you ever need any help with anything, I'm always happy to talk real estate. So
thanks again for stepping on. We'll
Absolutely.
see y'all next time.
y'all have a good day.